Do you want your teams to create more goal scoring opportunities? Do you want them to score more goals? Do you want them to be more coordinated in their attack and work together? The way that I do that is with attacking patterns of play. Today, we're gonna go over the most basic of those at the 7v7 level. So let's go. So for those of you who've been following me for a while, you know I'm a big fan of pattern choreography. Number one, it provides a baseline of learning. You could take almost any field of study, whether it be academic or athletic, and break it down into pattern recognition. What you're trying to do is recognize patterns and then recognize when something deviates from a particular pattern. And that's all we're doing here. I'm giving them a baseline of patterns, and then they can adapt after that. Our attacking patterns mimic our building out of the back patterns, and we do that on purpose to increase retention and comprehension at the youngest age levels. For those of you who haven't seen my building out of the back pattern videos, I will provide a link. Pattern number one in building out of the back is finding our central midfielder. Similarly, attacking pattern 1 is finding the central midfielder, and 1A is finding the 9. Building out of the back pattern number 2 is combining with the central midfielder. Attacking pattern 2 is combining with the central midfielder, while 2A is combining with the 9. Lastly, pattern number 3 in both our building out of the back as well as our attacking patterns involves switching the field. Each attacking pattern begins with the ball at our center back. In attacking pattern 1, the center back plays the ball to the fullback on his side who's come down to support. From here, the fullback gets his head up and scans the space. If there is space to be taken, we always encourage them to take it. Once engaged, the fullback looks centrally into open space. Here, the central midfielder recognizes where the open space is and gets into it. The central midfielder is encouraged to take his space and then look to combine with the 9 in order to score. Attacking pattern 1. The fullback comes down to support the center back who has the ball. The center back plays that ball to the fullback. The fullback then must immediately get his head up and make a decision. If there's space in front, he takes it. If there is space centrally and the center midfielder has gotten to that space, he can play a ball in. The center midfielder then receives the ball, gets his head up, scans the space. If there's space to be taken, then the center midfielder takes it and looks to combine with the 9 to score a goal. Attacking pattern 1A is a slight variation from attacking pattern 1, where the fullback looks to play a ball directly into the 9. The 9 checks his shoulder and, if there's space available, turns and goes to goal. In attacking pattern 1A, there are 2 key elements. First, the fullback must identify that the 9 is available. Second, the center midfielder and the 9 cannot crowd that space. So if the ball is played to the 9, the center midfielder has to stay the right distance behind because they have to be an option in case the 9 gets held up. Attacking pattern 2 also begins with the ball at our center back's feet. He again plays the ball out to our fullback who has supported the attack. Our fullback identifies that the center midfielder has gotten himself into an open position centrally, and this time our center midfielder takes his space and combines with the fullback. Our fullback is now in position to play across, and our striker, center midfielder, and fullback on the opposite side are in positions to make dedicated runs into the box. I'm a big believer in dedicated runs into the box on crosses. Too many times I see coaches do or say things like whip it into the box with no real structured plan on what those runners are supposed to do. Any crossing situation at the 7v7 level, I always run the same way. The 9 goes to the near post, the center midfielder, the 6 goes to the penalty spot, and the fullback on the opposite side of where the cross is coming from goes to the far post. Attacking pattern 2 is a combination with our fullback and our center midfielder. The key here is that the center midfielder understands that the space in front of him is closed and the ball to be played is out wide. Once that ball gets played out wide, the 9, the center midfielder, and the fullback on the opposite side of the field make dedicated runs into the box. The fullback with the ball at his feet gets his head up and looks to make a cross to one of those runners. Attacking pattern 2A is a slight variation from attacking pattern 2. Here, the fullback combines with the striker. Attacking pattern 2A relies on the same two key elements as attacking pattern 1A. First, the fullback must get his head up and recognize that the 9 is on. Second, the 9 and the 6 have to be very careful about their spacing. The 6 cannot crowd the 9, and the 9 cannot crowd the 6 in this situation in order for enough space to be created for it to work. Once the 9 realizes that it's closed going forward, the ball is played out wide. Once that ball is played out wide, the 9 immediately needs to go to the near post, the 6 goes to the penalty spot, and the fullback on the opposite side goes to the far post. The fullback with the ball at his feet gets his head up and makes a cross to one of those runners. So guys, a quick note about going from attacking pattern 1 and 1A to attacking pattern 2 and 2A. At the youngest age levels, the tendency of the center midfielder and the striker is to go directly into their opponents. So a lot of times what you'll see is that ball gets played into the middle of the field, and the center midfielder or the striker, if it's attacking pattern 1, will just go straight into the defense. And sometimes that's open, but you have to be very careful. More than likely, attacking pattern number 2, where the ball gets played out wide or is held up a little bit, is more likely to be on. And you have to really coach your 9 and your 6 to get their head up and not to go directly into the defenders, because that's the tendency at that age. Attacking pattern 3 begins like the other two with the center back playing a ball to a fullback who's supporting the attack. The fullback then takes his space and realizes that all options are closed on his side of the field. The center back, who's come to support the fullback on his side, becomes the best option. Here we switch field as quickly as possible, with the attack going down the other side. The fullback on the side the ball was switched to now puts himself in a position to make a cross to the dedicated runners into the box. The key to attacking pattern 3 is the fullback recognizing that the space is closed on his side. He then quickly switches field through the center back supporting to the center back on the opposite side of the field, all the way over to the fullback on the opposite side. That fullback then attacks his space and puts himself in position for a cross. So how do we go about implementing this in training? We start very simply with 6v0 against mannequins, and we walk through each pattern starting with a simple walkthrough and increasing to game speed. The natural progression from this is to add defenders. So we can start with 6v1, 6v2, 6v3, plus using a goalkeeper, depending on where the team's at in terms of their mastery of the attacking patterns. So attacking patterns of play. This is how you score more goals. Deliberate choreographed patterns that players begin to learn and they get over and over again. Once your players get these patterns down, the movement will become very natural and very quick. Other teams will comment on how fast you play when it's really just patterns that you've gone over and over again. After they've gotten these basic patterns down, then you can move on to other patterns, or what happens when the pattern's not on. Hey, if you liked this video, check out that one.